The breaking point. The skies above New Eden Colony blazed with emerald and gold, normal sunset colors on this world 16 light-years from Earth. Children played in community gardens while adults enjoyed the mild evening, their conversations a soft hum beneath the sound of gentle winds. Governor Eliza Chen stood on her office balcony, breathing deeply. After 3 years of terraforming struggles, New Eden was finally thriving. Atmospheric readings are optimal across all sectors, Governor, her assistant reported from the doorway. The agricultural dome reported a 15% yield increase this harvest. Excellent news, Chen smiled. Perhaps Earth will finally. The flash came without warning, blindingly bright, turning day to night, and back again in seconds. Chen stumbled, gripping the railing as a concussive force knocked the air from her lungs. Kilometers away, the second settlement dome collapsed inward, a fireball rising from its center. "What's happening?" she gasped, but her assistant had already fallen, blood streaming from her ears. The colony's emergency sirens began to wail as more explosions bloomed across the landscape. Communication systems flooded with panicked voices before cutting to static. Above them, the once peaceful sky filled with angular black ships, Centauri cruisers, unmistakable in their design. There had been no declaration of war, no warning, no demands, just death raining from above. Governor Chen's last conscious thought was to activate the colony's emergency beacon. As the administrative building collapsed around her, the signal shot outward, racing toward Earth at light speed. She would never know if it reached its destination. Admiral Elena Reyes stood rigid before the holographic display in Earth's High Command Center beneath Geneva. The emergency beacon data streamed in from multiple colonies simultaneously: New Eden, Proxima Centauri Outpost, and 3 mining stations in the Ta-CD system, all under attack, all with the same aggressors. Preliminary casualty estimates. "Admiral," her subordinate said, voice tight with emotion. 37,000 confirmed dead, likely to rise significantly. Reyes's hands clenched behind her back, knuckles white. The Centauri had guaranteed neutral passage through their territories just last month. They helped establish the Proxima Centauri Treaty. It appears they were lying. "Admiral." Across the command center, grim-faced officers watched real-time feeds from surviving satellites. Centauri battleships systematically destroyed colonial infrastructure, habitat domes, power stations, communication arrays. Not a single military target among them. These weren't strategic strikes. This was slaughter. "They're targeting civilians deliberately," Reyes said, her voice dangerously calm. "Not a single military installation hit. This isn't war, it's extermination." The doors slid open, and President Alvarez entered with his security detail. The room snapped to attention. "At ease," he said, though no one truly relaxed. "Admiral Reyes, your assessment." "Coordinated attacks across 5 colonies, Mr. President. Centauri warships appeared without warning and commenced bombardment of civilian targets. No demands, no communication, just slaughter." The President nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "Casualties rising by the minute, sir. Conservative estimates place it above 40,000 now." The command center fell silent as the magnitude settled over them. 40,000 lives, families, children, gone in minutes. "Recommendations, Admiral?" the President asked. "Sir, we need to deploy the 7th Fleet immediately. We can have ships at New Eden within." "No," President Alvarez said firmly. "No military response at this time." The room froze. Wright stared at him in disbelief. "Sir, with all due respect, we're witnessing the massacre of our citizens. We must respond." "And we will, Admiral," the President said, his voice low enough that only those nearest could hear, "but not in the way the Centauri or anyone else expects." He turned to his Chief of Staff. "Prepare a statement expressing our shock and dismay. Request an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Emphasize our desire for peace and diplomatic resolution. Diplomatic resolution. Rise couldn't hide her incredulity. Sir, they're still bombing our colonies. I'm aware, Admiral. The President's eyes hardened. I need you to trust me. Coordinate rescue operations. Get our people out if possible. But no military engagement. Not yet. He turned to leave, then paused. Admiral Rise, walk with me. Once they were alone in the corridor, President Alvarez's demeanor changed. The diplomatic facade dropped, revealing cold fury. Have you ever heard of Shadow Protocol, Admiral? Rise frowned. No, sir. It was established after the First Contact War, when we realized how vulnerable Earth might be to technologically superior species. Fluctuated, sending unsecured objects floating momentarily before crashing back down. What's happening? Velos demanded as he rushed toward the command center. Unknown, sir. Multiple system failures across the station. Defensive grid is non-responsive. Velos entered the command center to find his officers frantically working at terminals that continuously flickered between operational and offline states. On the main view screen, nothing appeared amiss in the space surrounding the station. Show me where those cruisers disappeared, he ordered. The screen shifted, zooming toward a section of apparently empty space. Then something moved. A distortion, like heat rising from a surface. The distortion resolved briefly into an angular shape unlike any ship Velos recognized before fading back to invisibility. What was that? He whispered. His question went unanswered as the command center doors sealed shut with a pneumatic hiss. Environmental alarms blared as atmosphere began venting from adjacent sections. We're being systematically depressurized, his second-in-command reported, horror evident in his voice. Something is overriding our environmental controls. On his private command channel, Velos sent an emergency transmission to Centauri High Command. Unknown hostile forces attacking Crex 9. Employing technology beyond our detection capabilities. Request immediate. The transmission cut off as the station's quantum communication array exploded. Through viewport windows, Velos watched in disbelief as sections of his station began breaking apart, not from explosions or weapons fire, but as if invisible forces were methodically disassembling the structure. Evacuation protocol, he shouted. All personnel to escape pods. But the escape pods had already been disabled. One by one, station systems shut down. Life support, gravity, emergency power, all failed with surgical precision. The last thing Commander Velos saw before emergency bulkheads seal his section was a figure stepping through an airlock that should have been impossible to breach without depressurizing the adjacent corridor. The figure wore armor of absolute black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its helmet revealed no features, only a featureless obsidian faceplate. It raised a hand in what Velos recognized with dawning horror as a human military salute. Then it lowered its arm and pointed directly at him. The bulkhead between them began to glow red, then white, as something cut through it with impossible speed. Within 24 hours, 17 Centauri military installations had gone silent. No distress calls, no battle reports. They simply ceased all communications and disappeared from Centauri networks. Search vessels dispatched to investigate failed to return. In the Centauri High Command complex on their homeworld of Zent Prime, Supreme War Director Corvin reviewed the disturbing reports with growing concern. There must be an explanation, he insisted to his assembled generals. 17 outposts don't simply vanish. The pattern suggests a coordinated attack, General Thez observed. Yet we've detected no enemy fleet movements. What about the humans? Corvin asked. Any unusual activity? None. War Director. Their conventional forces remain in defensive positions around Earth and their core colonies. Intercepted communications indicate they're still debating response options through diplomatic channels. Corvin studied the star map showing the affected installations. All of these were involved in the colonial cleansing operations. A coincidence, surely, another general suggested. The humans lack both the technology and resolve for such a precise operation. A junior communication officer interrupted with evident reluctance. War Director, we've received a message. Origin unknown. Display it, Corvin ordered. The central holographic projector activated, showing a simple text communication in standard galactic script. Colonial Outpost Eden 7. 48 hours ago, 3,716 civilians. Remember them. The message disappeared, replaced by footage that caused even the hardened Centauri generals to fall silent. The recording showed Eden 7's final moments from the perspective of what must have been a Centauri gunship. They watched their own forces methodically destroying the human colony. Then the footage changed. Now they were seeing Crex 9 station through the same clinical lens. The systematic dismantling of the station, the precision disabling of all escape options, the methodical elimination of all personnel. The final image froze on Commander Velos's face, his expression locked in terror as something breached his command center. Below this image, new text appeared. You showed no mercy. Expect none in return. This is only the beginning. The projection vanished, leaving the Centauri High Command in stunned silence. How did they penetrate our most secure communication channels? There will be no conventional forces involved, Admiral Quan interjected. Shadow Protocol operates independently. Earth's official response will be entirely diplomatic. Understanding dawned on Reyes. A two-track approach. Public diplomacy while we deliver a message, Vega finished, standing from his pod. The Centauri believe they can slaughter our people without consequences. They're about to learn otherwise. Across the chamber, hundreds of cryopods were opening, their occupants awakening to a galaxy that had just made a fatal mistake. Ghost Division will be ready in 6 hours, Vega told Quan. We've trained for this scenario specifically. How could you have trained for an attack that just happened? Rise asked. Vega's smile was cold. The Centauri have been planning this for years, Admiral. We've had people inside their military for longer. We knew this day would come. We just didn't know when. Reyes felt a chill run down her spine as she finally understood the full scope of Shadow Protocol. While Earth presented a face of peaceful cooperation to the galaxy, it had been preparing for war on a scale no one suspected. The Centauri thought they attacked defenseless colonies, Quan said quietly. They have no idea what they've awakened. Around them, the secret heart of humanity's defense stirred to life. Soldiers emerged from their long sleep. Technicians activated weapon systems, and in the massive dock below, engines began to power up on ships the galaxy didn't know existed. The Centauri had made a grievous miscalculation. They had attacked believing Earth would be forced to respond conventionally, through diplomacy or with its known military assets. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for almost half a century. In 12 hours, the Ghost Fleet would launch, and the Centauri would learn that humanity's apparent weakness had been the greatest deception of all. The Ghost Fleet awakens. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered sections, their attention fixed on the human delegate who stood calmly at the central podium. Ambassador Sarah Chen's voice remained steady despite the gravity of her words. The unprovoked attacks on our colonies have resulted in over 50,000 civilian deaths. Earth requests the Council's immediate intervention to prevent further violence. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Centauri delegate, Overseer Malax, rose from his seat, his scaled skin shifting from green to a defensive blue. The humans exaggerate, he declared. Our military conducted limited operations against illegally established outposts encroaching on Centauri space. Any civilian casualties were regrettable accidents. Ambassador Chen displayed holographic evidence of the attacks, habitat domes collapsing, civilians running from orbital bombardments, children's bodies amid the rubble. These are not military targets, Overseer. This was methodical extermination. The Ilari representative, a crystalline being who served as council mediator, intervened. Earth's response has been remarkably measured given the circumstances. What actions do you propose? Ambassador Chen. Earth seeks peace, she replied. We request Centauri withdrawal from contested regions, reparations for the lives lost, and council peacekeepers to prevent further aggression. Overseer Malak scoffed. Humans speak of peace while secretly building military outposts in neutral space. Our strikes were preventative, necessary for Centauri security. A curious justification for targeting civilian habitats, Chen countered. If the Centauri have evidence of human military expansion, present it now. The challenge hung in the air. Melax's skin darkened. The Centauri Dominion does not answer to lesser species. The human should be grateful we limited our response. Grateful. Chen's composure never wavered. Interesting choice of words. Overseer. Earth will remember your generosity. As diplomatic theater played out before the galaxy, something entirely different unfolded in the shadows of the solar system. Beneath the Martian surface, Admiral Alina Reyes watched final preparations for the Ghost Fleet's deployment. The massive underground hangar hummed with controlled urgency as crews made last-minute adjustments to 27 warships, unlike anything in Earth's public arsenal. Commander Marcus Vega approached, his movements fluid despite decades in cryosleep. His body showed the subtle signs of enhancement, slightly too perfect reflexes, eyes that processed information with unnatural speed. Ghost Division is fully awakened and combat-ready, he reported. First wave will deploy in 30 minutes. I still don't understand how this remained hidden for so long, Rice said, watching as soldiers in matte black combat suits filed silently into boarding tubes. Humanity learned an important lesson during first contact, Vega replied. When you're not the strongest player, never show your full hand. He gestured toward the nearest ship, Tour. Aboard the destroyer classified as Phantom 01, Rice struggled to comprehend the technology surrounding her. The bridge contained no chairs, no traditional control panels. Instead, neural interface nodes hung from the ceiling, waiting for their operators. Direct mind-machine interface, Vega explained. Reaction time measured in milliseconds. Conventional controls would be too slow. The ship's armaments remained concealed behind seamless hull plates, but displays showed their capabilities. Quantum-phased energy weapons designed to bypass standard shields. Gravity manipulation systems that could tear enemy vessels apart from the inside. Stealth systems that bent light, and sensor signals around the hull. None of this should be possible, Rise whispered. Officially, it isn't, Vega agreed. Earth signed treaties prohibiting most of these technologies. Then we built them anyway. How do we justify this level of deception? Vega's expression hardened. 50,000 dead civilians provide all the justification we need, Admiral. He activated a holographic display showing the Centauri fleet positions. They've attacked 4 more outposts since yesterday. Small research stations, minimal defenses. The death toll is approaching 70,000. Ray studied the tactical display. They're getting bolder, moving deeper into our territory. They believe we're weak, Vega said, or paralyzed by indecision. Centauri military doctrine relies on overwhelming force to trigger immediate capitulation. He smiled thinly. Our public response is confusing them. General Quan joined them on the bridge. Deployment order confirmed, Commander. President Alvarez has authorized full implementation of Shadow Protocol. Vega nodded. Ghost Fleet will deploy in sequence. First strike package targets Centauri forward operating bases in the Arcturus sector. He turned to Reyes. Admiral, you should return to Earth Command. Maintain the illusion that we're still assessing conventional military options. I want to see this through, Reyes insisted. I watched those colonies burn. Quan and Vega exchanged looks. Very well, Quan decided. But you'll need to report back with carefully controlled information. The success of Shadow Protocol depends on absolute compartmentalization. Throughout the hangar, launch preparations accelerated. Ghost Division operators connected to their neural interfaces, their consciousness merging with their vessels. Weapon systems came online, power signatures carefully dampened to near undetectable levels. Ghost Fleet, prepare for sequential launch, Vega ordered through the command network. One by one, the massive hangar doors above them opened, revealing the rust-colored Martian sky. The first ships rose silently, their propulsion systems emitting no visible exhaust, their hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. To any observer, they would appear as momentary distortions, easily dismissed as atmospheric anomalies. Within 30 minutes, all 27 ships had departed. Similar launches occurred simultaneously from hidden facilities on Europa, Titan, and within the asteroid belt. The Ghost Fleet, Earth's hidden blade, was now fully deployed. On the Centauri border outpost Crex 9, Security Commander Velos was enjoying a particularly satisfying meal when alert signals flashed across his personal communicator. He sighed irritably, setting down his eating utensils. "Report," he barked into the communicator. "Sensor anomalies, Commander," the duty officer responded. "Possible malfunction in the perimeter detection grid. Run diagnostics," Velos ordered, returning to his meal. The humans had been surprisingly passive following the cleansing operations. Intelligence had predicted they would attempt a conventional military response, allowing the Centauri fleet to demonstrate their superiority decisively. Instead, the humans wasted time with diplomacy while their colonists died. His communicator chimed again. "Commander, diagnostics show all systems functioning normally, but we're still detecting irregular energy patterns at the outer marker buoys." Velos frowned. "Visual confirmation." "Nothing on optical scanners, sir." "Dispatch a patrol. 2 cruisers should suffice." "Yes, Commander." 15 minutes later, both cruisers went silent simultaneously. Velos stared at his communicator in disbelief. "Status report." The duty officer's voice held the first hints of panic. "All communication lost, sir. Last telemetry showed no weapons fire, no energy spikes. They just stopped transmitting." Velos rose from his table, meal forgotten. "Full station alert. Activate all defensive systems. Send." The station shuddered violently. Lights flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency illumination. Artificial gravity. He handed her a data chip. "This grants you access to a facility beneath Olympus Mons on Mars. Report there immediately. Full secrecy, no digital communication." "Mars. Sir, I should be coordinating our response." "This is our response. Admiral." His voice was steel. "While I go to the Galactic Council with open hands and peaceful words, you'll be preparing what we've been building in secret for 50 years. Understanding dawned slowly on Reyes's face. "We're not standing down." "No," the President said. "We're getting ready to show the galaxy exactly what happens when you mistake humanity's patience for weakness." The shuttle approached Mars silently, using an approach vector that kept it hidden from regular traffic monitoring. Reyes had been briefed during the journey. Minimal information, just enough to understand the enormity of what she was about to witness. Her security clearance hadn't been high enough. No one's was, unless they were directly involved in the project. Shadow protocol existed outside normal military command structures, funded through black budgets and hidden appropriations across decades. The shuttle descended toward what appeared to be an abandoned mining facility near the base of Olympus Mons. As they approached, sections of the Martian surface retracted, revealing a massive hangar bay. "Welcome to Tartarus Base, Admiral," her pilot said as they landed. Inside, she was met by a tall, severe-looking woman in an unmarked military uniform. "General Kwan, Project Director." "Follow me, Admiral. Time is critical." They moved through security checkpoints that employed technology Reyes had never seen before. Full neural scans, DNA verification, retinal imprints that somehow felt different than standard scans. The facility extends 17 kilometers beneath the Martian surface, Kwan explained as they entered a high-speed elevator. "Construction began 47 years ago, after we realized what existed beyond our solar system. 47 years of secret military development." Reyes asked, "How is that possible?" Compartmentalization. Most workers only built components without knowing their purpose. Those who understood the full scope are permanently stationed here. The elevator stopped, and the doors opened to reveal an enormous chamber. Reyes's breath caught. Below them stretched a vast underground dock, and within it, "Those are warships," she whispered, "but nothing like I've ever seen." Phantom-class stealth destroyers, Quan confirmed. Undetectable to current galactic standard sensors, quantum-shielded, armed with weapons that technically violate 3 separate galactic treaties we publicly signed. The ships were sleek, dark, predatory. No external lights, no visible weapons emplacements, but Reyes could sense their lethality nonetheless. Workers swarmed around them, preparing them for deployment. "How many?" she asked. 27 in this facility, 114 spread across similar bases throughout the solar system. Reyes turned to her in shock. Over 100 warships. Hidden. Ships are only part of it. Quan led her to another section of the facility. Project Nemesis is the heart of Shadow Protocol. They entered a vast chamber lined with what appeared to be cryogenic pods. Each contained a human figure, motionless but not dead. Thousands of them, extending as far as Reyes could see. "Our soldiers," Quan said quietly. "Enhanced, trained from childhood. The best humanity could produce, augmented with technology we've kept hidden from the galactic community. These are children you've been preparing for war." Reyes felt sick. "No," Quan's voice was firm. "These are volunteers who understood the stakes. Many are veterans of the First Contact War who chose this path to protect humanity's future. They've been waiting for the day we'd need them." They approached a central control station where technicians worked frantically. "We're initiating awakening protocols for the First Division," a technician reported. "Vitals stabilizing across all units." On a nearby screen, Reyes watched as one of the cryopods opened. A man sat up slowly, his movements fluid despite decades of suspended animation. His eyes opened, alert, focused, unnaturally aware of his surroundings. "Commander Vega," Quan addressed him. "Activation Protocol Alpha 7. Authorization Quan 5 to 9 Theta." The man nodded, his voice steady despite not having spoken for years. "Activation confirmed. Status report. Centauri forces have attacked 5 Earth colonies. Civilian casualties exceed 40,000. Commander Vega's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, a cold, terrible purpose. "Deployment timeline. 12 hours for your division. The Ghost Fleet will be ready." Vega nodded again, then noticed Reyes. "Admiral, you're not part of Project Nemesis. The President sent me," she explained. "I'll be your liaison to conventional forces." General Thez finally asked. Corvin didn't answer immediately. He was still processing the implications. Whatever had destroyed those outposts wasn't just attacking military targets. It was mirroring exactly what the Centauri had done to human colonies, with the same methodical precision, the same inescapable tactics. "The humans have hidden capabilities," he concluded. "Significant ones." "Impossible," another general protested. "Our intelligence on Earth's military is comprehensive. They cannot hide an entire fleet capable of this." Corvin stared at the empty space where the message had been. "Clearly, they can. And have." He turned to his communication officer. "Order all outlying forces to fall back to defensible positions. Increase alert status throughout the Dominion." "What of the ongoing cleansing operations?" General Thez asked. "Suspend them," Corvin ordered, "until we understand what we're facing." As his officers rushed to implement his commands, Corvin remained alone with the disturbing realization that the Centauri Dominion had gravely miscalculated. They had attacked believing Earth would respond conventionally, with visible fleets, with desperate defenses, with tactics the Centauri understood. Instead, something was hunting them from the shadows, something they couldn't see coming. And it was only just beginning. Aboard Phantom 01, Commander Vega reviewed mission reports from the first wave of operations. 23 Centauri military installations neutralized. 0 Ghost Division casualties. 0 detection of their presence, until it was too late for the enemy to respond. Phase 1 complete, he informed Admiral Reyes, who watched the tactical displays with a mixture of awe and unease. Enemy forces are withdrawing from forward positions. They're confused, Reyes observed. Their doctrine doesn't account for an enemy they can't see or fight conventionally. That's the point of Shadow Protocol, Vega replied. Not just technological superiority, psychological warfare. They believed they were the predators. Now they realized their prey. On nearby screens, footage from helmet cameras showed Ghost Division operators moving through Centauri installations with terrifying efficiency. Their enhanced bodies moved faster than normal humans, their coordinated attacks executed with machine-like precision. Where Centauri forces resisted, they were neutralized without hesitation. These aren't just soldiers, Reyes said quietly. What exactly are they? The best humanity could produce, General Quan answered, joining them on the command deck. Volunteers who understood the cost. Enhanced reflexes. Augmented musculature. Neural interfaces that process information at 3 times normal human capacity. At what cost to their humanity? We didn't create monsters, Admiral, Quan said firmly. We created guardians. Every person in Ghost Division chose this path knowing they would live in the shadows, that their sacrifices would never be acknowledged publicly. Vega turned from the displays. Phase 2 begins in 6 hours. We target their supply chain next. Fuel processing stations, ammunition depots, fleet staging areas. And after that, Reyes asked. We move closer to their homeworld, Vega said, escalating pressure until they withdraw completely from human space. And if they don't? Vega's expression remained unnervingly calm. Then we demonstrate that humanity can reach anywhere, even their most secure facilities. Their leadership, their homes. We make them understand that there is nowhere in the galaxy they can hide from us. Reyes studied the man before her, human but somehow more, dedicated to a mission planned decades before the current crisis. This isn't just about the colony attacks, is it? Shadow Protocol was designed for something bigger. General Quan exchanged glances with Vega before answering. Earth has always been vulnerable, Admiral. We're newcomers to an ancient galactic community. Many species viewed our arrival as an opportunity for exploitation or conquest. Shadow Protocol exists to ensure that any species that attacks humanity will face consequences beyond their calculation, Vega continued. The Centauri believed our apparent technological limitations were real. They thought our diplomatic approach signaled weakness. They made a fundamental error, Quan concluded. They judged us by what we showed the galaxy, not by what humanity is truly capable of when threatened. On the main tactical display, Ghost Fleet ships moved silently toward their next targets, invisible to conventional sensors, unstoppable by standard defenses. Earth's hidden blade was now fully unsheathed, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.